Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend the AWS Summit. My name is Brandon, and I'll be your room host for today. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the people of the Aron ICC on which we meet. My respects to their elders, past and present. Before we start, I have some important notes to go over before we start this session. Please ensure that all devices are silenced as a courtesy to your fellow audience members, as well as that all sessions are being live streamed and recorded and will be available after the event. Now, to get started. Welcome to today's session with New Relic, where they will be discussing from the AFL to FIFA Women's World Cup and the Olympics, how 7 delivers large-scale streaming success with New Relic. This session is a level 100, and today you'll learn more about how 7 Plus was able to create large-scale streaming success with New Relic on AWS. Before we welcome them onto stage, if you haven't already, could you please download the AWS Summit app via the QR codes on the screen? Perfect. Please join me on welcoming onto the stage Aron from New Relic and Pablo from 7 West Media. Nice.
All right, thank you very much. Confirming everyone can hear us? Yeah? Awesome. So remember, Pablo, we just have a bunch of antisocial people in front of us that they're not here to even listen to us, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for joining us. So we'll kick off with a couple of introductions. So my name is Aron. I'm a principal solution consultant at New Relic. I've been at New Relic for about 5 years, and I've been working with Channel 7 for about, I think it's been about 4 or 5 years now, actually, yeah. Pablo?
Yeah, hello, my name is Pablo. I am video tech lead for 7 Plus, and I've been at 7 now for about 5 years, working through lots of very cool projects, so from Tokyo Olympics to FIFA Women's World Cup and AFL.
Awesome. So, if anyone's been living under a rock, let's maybe introduce them to 7 Plus.
Yeah, definitely. So how many of you here have used 7 Plus? Congratulations, that's the correct answer. So yeah, 7 Plus was launched in 2016. Since then, it has grown more than 30% every year. We have over 25,000 titles in our VOD catalog, ranging from Australian favorites like Home and Away to premium drama like The Rookie. We have over 150 live streams made up of terrestrial broadcast simulcast channels through to thematic fast channels, some of which we make ourselves and some others we acquire from all over the world. 7 Plus is a cloud-native platform built on microservices, deployed on ECS, and Lambda, and some of the AWS native services such as Personalize for recommendations. And we also use AWS media services like Media Live for encoding, and Media Package for packaging and origination. And we also use many third-party SaaS vendors such as New Relic, who has been our observability partner since 2021.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I remember when I started, it was pretty exciting to start working with you guys because the scale and dealing with something that you've actually tangibly seen on your TV or your app is pretty relatable. So, a quick one about New Relic for those of you that aren't familiar. So New Relic is a all-in-one intelligent observability platform. So we started off with the founders essentially of the concept of APM, so application performance monitoring. And as you can kind of see in this illustration, we've broadened the horizons with all types of observability telemetry. Including, very importantly, all of AWS's services are natively integrated into the platform and essentially are first-class citizens when you're observing not just AWS's vast services, but then the application stack and all the other third-party vendors that you'd have to obviously incorporate into your solution. little bit of scale around that. So again, we ourselves host on top of AWS, which is pretty much instrumental to scale. I think we can all pretty much agree it's nice not to have to even think about the scale. It's something that we tell our customers. It's like, you don't worry about what you send us. We will be able to automatically handle it. And thanks to AWS, we were able to achieve some of these pretty crazy numbers. So let's dive into some of the three items in the subject today. So we'll pick some of the three top streams. Let's run through some of these numbers, and then we'll get into the meat of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, first of all, like, live sport is critical to 7+, and is really a great example of how the platform has grown, both in size and complexity over the past 5 years. So if you imagine getting your phone, open the 7+ app, and then you can decide whether you log in or not, or you can create an account. Then you navigate through the app, find some content that you want to play, and then click on the play button. So how hard can that possibly be? Well, it's actually very hard. It's really, really hard. So much that we have seen so many high-profile failures over the years, including some major names such as Netflix, and any non-insignificant issue during an event like Olympics or World Cup or AFL is guaranteed to make headlines.
You know what's a great example of that is, again, that big streamer, I think that all streaming platforms would look up to. They've been doing what is VOD, video on demand. So essentially you just watch whatever you want when you want. There's no live aspect. There was a particularly large event that was a live event that I know that didn't go quite well for that particular streamer. So just to put it in context, we're not dealing with watching home and away necessarily, it's a challenge, but we're actually dealing with the specifics of live streaming a live event.
So yeah, like, why is it so hard? Live sport is what we call appointment viewing, which essentially what it means is that most of the users will take action at the exact same time. And because it's live, you cannot put them, you cannot throttle the users by putting them on a waiting area, like what happens when you buy tickets for a big show. Because it's live, everybody has to be served immediately. And then once everybody's viewing, then the fun is just beginning. Because each one of those users will request the video in 3-second chunks. And if you have 1 million users, that means that you'll get like 1 million requests every 3 seconds. And that's without considering things like digital rights management or advertising or captions.
And so we'll be getting to the next slide. We're going to talk specifically about AFL. But to put a bit of context in, I know, Pablo, you're telling me about those Olympic numbers in comparison to some of the streamers in the US. So with all those challenges in mind, you managed to get those types of 4.7 billion minutes compared to some of the streamers in the US. What were the numbers for the?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, obviously, like, thanks to COVID lockdown, like, we got unprecedented scale in our systems. So we were able to make 4.7 billion minutes. Compared to NBC in the US, they did 6.4, and that's with 10 times the Australian population.
Very impressive.
Tokyo Olympics was the largest streaming event in Australia on that date. Then also came Women's World Cup. The Women's World Cup, we had like basic we have some requirements in terms of security, so we had to enhance the security of our content for that by using the digital rights management, DRM. But we had like a very basic requirements in terms of accuracy of the delivery. So we only have to, I mean, for the geolocation part of the project. So we only had to limit the content to be within Australia itself. And it also meant that due to the great performance of the Matildas, it made it yet again the largest streaming event to date, with over 1 million users watching, all of them going through this workflow that I explained before, opening the 7+ app, getting through to the video, and all that happening at a rate of 22,000 every minute.
So sorry for harping on this particular point. The idea here is that these numbers are really impressive already with the complexities of live streaming. The next part that we're going to talk about here is essentially the AFL contract that 7 Plus has been able to acquire, and the added level of complexity that has come along with the compliance with that. So, Pablo, let's quickly just go through the brief on why this is a big deal for all the viewership and also for 7, and then we'll kind of get into this new challenge that you've had to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. So previously, 7 only had the streaming rights for the AFL Grand Final, which was also very, very successful for us. On the previous slide, you saw that last year we got more than 650,000 concurrent users. But we couldn't stream the regular matches, because a very well-known subscription TV provider had the national streaming rights for the games, and we couldn't target the streams to specific regions in a secure and accurate way. So now, with what is the largest deal in sports in Australian history at $1.5 billion, we are able to make AFL live and free to everyone.
Awesome. So yeah, so this is a big deal, the fact that you have been able to essentially now stream those matches, which is a huge amount of audience. It's unlocking it from people that didn't want to pay and subscribe to that provider, but it did come with some conditions, right? So the challenges, specifically with this contract, you want to run through those quickly for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So geo-targeting in broadcast is very straightforward. It's just a byproduct of the radius of the transmission tower. In the IP world, on the other side, that radius is essentially the size of the Earth. You could be in the US and you could pretend you are in Sydney.
Yep.
So that's one of the big challenges we're trying to tackle here. And typically, what happens is you would manage this by using geo-targeting is performed by using IP location databases, which work great for country level accuracy.
Yeah.
But they are only about like 80% for state level.
Yes. And so this is the interesting part. So I think we're all familiar with the idea that Netflix, you'd be able to choose the US and you'd get different content. There are services that provide you the ability to make you look like you're coming from the US. So this is actually not the challenge here. The challenge is the state level requirement that the contract providers put in place to say you need to guarantee with a certain percentage of accuracy that the viewership for a particular game is only served out of Melbourne, for example. And if anyone that's played with IP addresses in general, the location of IP addresses is at best national-wide. So the AS number is assigned to an ISP, and that's great, but then you can jump on a VPN and suddenly you're in the United States. So this is actually not the challenge. The challenge now is being able to already work with unreliable IP database information at the state level.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit on that, like you can get very accurate location. The mobile devices and web, they can provide precise, accurate location where they are, but not smart TVs. However, it's very easy to spoof the location of those mobile phone and the web, even for non-technical users.
Yeah. So you explained to me, especially when the 7 team came to New Relic to ask for a bit more help with this new project. You basically said you went and talked to all the different streaming providers, and you were asking how they did this. And the only people you could find were a gambling organization that used this geo-comply solution. So
true.
Let's run through these steps here, because this is essentially the important context around being able to actually deliver these AFL per match based on the contract.
Yep. Yeah, sure. So yeah, obviously to find a solution for this, we talked to many leading streaming platforms in the US and Europe. None of them had the strict accuracy requirements that we had. All they had to do was use IP, as I mentioned earlier, using IP location databases. So for this, we took some technology from a company called GeoComply, who had developed a very robust anti-spoofing technology for the online betting market in the US. So that gives us a very accurate non-spoof location, but only for mobile and web.
Yep.
So for smart TVs, we use a QR code workflow,
Yep.
which took a lot of effort to make as user-friendly as possible. So we were able to make it so user-friendly that we have had, till date, more than 1 million located users and only about 170 support cases.
Yeah, and put this into context for everyone else. So you go to an iPad or an iPhone, anywhere where there's an Android or iOS environment, you have the 7 Plus app. It's able to, especially through GeoComply, check the true location of the phone based on GPS. So that's easy thanks to the implementation of this solution. But the smart TVs don't have that. So what would happen is when you go to select home and away, they don't need to know about where you are state-based. It's going to be more of a national item. It won't need to imply this step 1 to 5. But if you do click on a restricted stream, you would then be presented, especially on a TV, which is very common, a QR code to then use the phone to check the physical location of that person viewing the stream. So this is the way that they were able to provide a good customer experience without adding in extra complexity, but also to comply with devices that TVs don't have GPS modules in them, or they're not as standardized as phones. So I'll probably outline here that we were already monitoring, so Relic was already involved with this whole user experience before this GeoComply piece, but now we had the additional requirement that we've got a $1.5 billion contract. We needed to protect not only the compliance piece, or help with the compliance piece, which we'll get to in the next slide, but we had to protect this workflow, because users don't want to be inconvenienced any more than what they already are to have to add an extra step. So the critical pieces were that each one of these stages to check a stream, present a QR code on the TVs, we're able to check and make sure that experience was occurring the way that we expected for all users. And the great thing is that, I think it was, did you mention the help desk tickets was of the million? It was 170 help desk tickets, which is awesome, because the other problem with observability is that I don't know how many of you have had a bad experience, and A, you don't know where to complain, B, you can't be bothered, or C, the competitor is just one click away. So especially with 7, it is so easy for us to just toggle to another competitor, another streaming app potentially, or maybe go try and source this information somewhere else. It becomes very important to protect the experiences of people that aren't going to actually complain. So being able to track every single one of these stages became pretty critical.
Yeah. So yeah, we can walk a little bit through what the steps are when you connect to 7 Plus. One of the key things we wanted to maintain or make sure is that we will give a great experience both for AFL fans and also for the people that are on 7 Plus, not for AFL. They be interested in something else. So we, for example, when you join the stream and you're watching the news, and then you have provided us your location, we have verified with GeoComply, then we give you access to the stream, and then if it is an AFL match after the news, then you are able to watch it through without any interruptions. If you have not provided us your location and you are on the news, and then you go to an AFL match, you're able to watch and finish the news, but then we send some prompts to the user to tell you, hey, if you want to continue watching, please provide us and give us access to your location, because we need to verify where you are. And that all access to the stream is actually enforced using also digital rights management. And that, again, that's what blocks access to the stream if you are not authorized to watch the stream.
Yeah. So the next slide, I'm going to go into a little bit more of pretty much step 5. So what happened is, we're tracking to make sure step 1 and 4 is occurring as expected. It's a hidden system that the user can't see, but as soon as that breaks down, the policies are that you can't access the AFL stream. You will be blocked if you can't provide that accurate location data. And with all the complexities of even the rights, digital rights management and compliance, that existed before. That was something that even that persisted before the GeoComply workflow. but the contract was so strict that the channel 17 needed to trust GeoComply was doing their job, and we can confirm that it's getting back a response from the device. But the issue was due to the strictness of the contract, we kind of needed to check the checker. So this is where, again, if you're familiar with New Relic, application performance monitoring and logs, and we've got the full AI process that we're bringing in to tell you what's going on with your data. This is everything that 7's already using for everything before and during this new process. But something that was a little bit more interesting, it was something that we really enjoyed working together, was we were able to take all of the logs from CloudFront and see every single access, every single chunk of the CDN going to the devices. And because of all the data that you basically produce when you connect to the CDN, we're able to manually and through New Relic, analyze all that data in real time to correlate device ID, correlation ID, device type, user ID, so that we could now start seeing if anyone was circumventing in any way that even GeoComply wasn't aware of. Because at the end of the day, if 7 unfortunately can't just say, oh, we've employed GeoComply here, we're done, tick box, the contract holders would essentially say, we don't know GeoComply, they're not the ones signing the contract, you have. So this is the way that we validated to make sure that no one was slipping through the nets, or if someone was, we were actively aware of it, we were able to be accountable and see the information and report back and do something about it. So the ability here is some of the stats here is we're able to essentially have 3 seconds to glass. So as soon as that piece of data was sent to New Relic, it was on the glass to view under 3 seconds. Scale, again, not an issue due to AWS. So the CDN logs, as you can imagine, with some of the numbers from 7, some of those streaming events, we're talking billions of minutes, millions of concurrent users. Everything that the 7 team has had to work pretty tirelessly, through load testing and make sure everything is operating, we now have to handle all that data and now analyze it in real time. So being able to have a solution here where it was not a normal use case. You're not going to go to our feature list and find anti-circumvention detection feature. We had to actually write this through with the query language in New Relic. We're able to do real-time analysis functions and even with our AI capabilities coming, we're able to actually ingest all this data and start getting information and trends and anything that's slipping through the nets, basically.
And this was not really very straightforward process. It's something that is evolving over the time. Like for example, at the start of when we were first building this dashboard, we saw a bunch of not very, we noticed that there were some circumvention happening, but in reality, we thought that was happening. There was some false positive.
Yeah, that was really interesting. So just to put emphasis on how IPs are kind of useless in today's age to try and find anything meaningful around where people are coming from. We noticed that we had a single user ID logged in watching a stream, but they had 50 IP addresses assigned to them or over the period of the stream. So like Pablo mentioned, 3 second chunks always coming through. The CDN is able to track where the 3 second chunk was requested from. And suddenly we would have a 30-minute game, whatever, 40-minute game, and there'll be 20, 30, 40, 50 IP addresses for this one user, for this one correlation ID, which is one stream. And Pablo and I are going, this person's definitely obviously filtering out the stream so that they're maybe making money off selling it to somewhere else. But it ended up being natting. So if anyone's familiar with natting, IP address exhaustion for IPv4, a lot of ISPs, if you don't purchase a static IP address, the NAT changes the IP every whatever frequency the ISP deems necessary. So that was just a classic example of that. That was completely important to know because we're able to isolate the first 2 octets that belongs to the ISP. They can't jump to another AS number that belongs to another provider. But we're actually able to filter down to the first 2 octets as a leading indicator to say, this is normal behavior, the last 2 octets are going to change constantly. But we're able to see that in the data and basically cross-check with GeoComply, make sure that they're still doing the right thing. And it was really interesting to kind of see the validation work, because we automatically just went, oh, someone's stealing the feed. But then we were able to go dig in deeper and go, well, I'm glad we got GeoComply because we couldn't do this via normal methods. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. So let's just wrap up here. So call to action is 3 things. I'll get you to take number 1, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like, obviously, watch 7+. I saw some people didn't raise their hands at the beginning, so encourage you to go to 7+. It's free. It works pretty well.
I will tell you if it doesn't.
And obviously, we got the footy now live and free.
Yep, no, that's great for footy fans. I think that's really nice that it's been brought, free of charge and accessible to everyone. A really good call out, I think, for number 2. I actually need your help with this one as well. Something that all those unprecedented events, right, the Matildas and the Olympics with COVID, there was scale that the team didn't even anticipate. And this is the kind of scale that if it linearly increased, you would essentially just either increase your bill exponentially, or one of the worst cases is have an outage. So explain to me how number 2 helped and why the people in the room should take advantage of this.
Yeah, so in the lead up to all of those big events, we work with our TAM from AWS in a process called, or formerly called, Infrastructure Event Management, so IEM. Now it's called AWS Countdown. So with them, we discuss how we are ready for the event. We analyze all of the critical workloads that we have in the cloud, and assess whether there is any risks and how we can mitigate those risks, and also plan for the scale of the event.
Yep.
So those are the key things. We obviously also do some other things internally, like release management, where we implement a change freeze in the lead up to the event. And also one very key thing we do on the big events is that we try to reduce like non-cacheable functionality as much as we can, just to be able to handle the load that is coming to the platform.
Yeah, and the great point there is during those load tests, you've got AWS coming in and helping you like the well-architected review process. And then on the flip side, because New Relic is able to be installed in pre-prod dev, even right down to the developers' laptops, we could see all the load tests, we could see the impact, we could see the change and improvements between each test. So that kind of visibility, that observability there was pretty much critical to be able to know, I've done a load test, sure, I didn't get any 500s, but what was the performance? What was the experience from the user's perspective? So being able to do that across a load test of thousands, millions of concurrent, basically simulations is basically critical. And probably number 3 there from me is sign up for New Relic. It's free. If you're not already using it, you can take a free account. I remember our founder, CEO who launched this, said it would be free forever. I can't take credit for that or responsibility, but it's been free for many years to sign up with 100 gigs every month. And I run so many personal projects through that. I monitor my power at home for fun, and I can see how my AC is using more power than my wife decides to turn on the AC and crank it up to 35 degrees. So you go and play around. Feel free to reach out to me. That's my LinkedIn QR code. If you want to speak to Pablo, we can hook you up there. And thank you for joining the one session that didn't have AI in the title. I appreciate that. But in the world moving forward with AI, data is king. Data is so important because NVIDIA is going to make a lot of money after the GPUs that you're going to need to be able to crunch through all this data. Data still needs to be clean, needs to be understood and organized, and then you can go nuts with AI to start trying to interpret the data that you're basically collecting from all these locations. So thank you for joining, and I hope you found it interesting.
Wow. What a session on how 7 worked with New Relic to enable large scalability to all 7+ users. Thank you, Aron and Pablo. If you aren't already a 7+ user, you should sign up right now. Everyone, if you could join me in thanking Aron and Pablo with a round of applause for this session, that'd be great. Awesome. Look, in a moment, I'm putting the QR codes on the screen. Please do take the time to provide Aron and Pablo feedback via the AWS Summit app. And lastly, if you could leave the headsets on the back of each seat before leaving, that would be great. Thank you.